The Stoicism we discuss today hails from the 3rd century BC, succeeding Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. A philosophical movement enduring centuries, it has evolved and transformed, presenting a challenge in grasping its full essence. Stoicism, a comprehensive philosophy, isn't just a thought system or a worldview. It encompasses both theoretical and practical aspects, aimed at understanding and action, guiding individuals in the world. Key to Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, recognizing what depends on us and what doesn't. Our efforts, truth-seeking, and actions are under our control, unlike our birthplace, physical attributes, or wealth. While some may argue the boundaries of this control are blurry, Stoicism maintains the importance of this distinction. Recognizing what we can and cannot control is the first step towards acknowledging our limitations and embracing humility. Stoicism teaches that desiring the impossible leads to suffering, as we confront our limitations and the unattainability of such desires. A core Stoic principle is accepting life's inevitable limitations, like death. Mourning a loved one is seen as a logical aberration. We can't make people immortal. Stoicism demands not just awareness of life's temporal limits, but a deep acceptance, integrating this understanding into the fabric of our being. Stoicism thus emerges as both a philosophy and psychology, reminding us of our mortality and urging us to accept our own death. Epicurus posited that learning to live is akin to learning to die, and philosophy is largely about accepting death. This acceptance isn't rooted in sadness or regret, but in recognizing it as a natural law. It's in deeply accepting death as a natural inevitability that we can free ourselves from the associated grief and suffering. The Stoics and Epicureans alike asserted that death is inconsequential. When we're alive, death isn't present, and when we die, we're no longer there to experience it. Thus, we never truly encountered death. The fear of death is not a fear of reality, but of a mental projection. This reflects a key Stoic belief: the role of imaginary projections distancing us from the present reality. We're often caught in future anticipations or past nostalgias, rarely inhabiting the present moment. These projections generate emotions or passions, pathos in Greek meaning suffering, which are essentially creations of our mind. These emotions, like fear, regret, jealousy, envy, and anger, are things we passively endure, proving our non-acceptance of life as it is. For instance, jealousy towards a neighbor for having better possessions is a mental projection. It's not the neighbor but our perception and resultant emotions that cause unhappiness. This leads to the Stoic principle that we should remain unaffected by what's beyond our control. Firstly, we recognize what depends on us and what doesn't. Secondly, we shouldn't be affected by the latter. Emotions, from a Stoic perspective, are logical aberrations as they don't solve the problems causing them. We often attribute the cause of our emotions to external factors. However, Stoicism challenges this by emphasizing self-control over emotions. The ability to manage emotions, seen in individuals who remain undisturbed by external events, is referred to as Stoic in modern parlance. This Stoicism is not apathy, but a conscious, controlled indifference, acknowledging that some things are beyond our control. Thus, Stoics question why we should be affected by what we can't control. Stoicism teaches that emotions like anger and jealousy don't resolve the problems causing them. These emotions are akin to energy we can't channel, leading us to express them outwardly. For example, if you hurt your knee and lash out at a table, it doesn't alleviate the pain, but simply releases the energy from the pain and anger. Similarly, expressing anger at a TV show or its host resolves nothing. Stoics argue that indulging in emotions only masks our inability to accept the world as it is. They advise, don't seek to change reality, but your perspective on it. This might seem like a philosophy of submission or passivity, leading one to accept injustices or immoral acts. However, Stoicism differentiates between what is within our control and what isn't, urging us to change what we can and accept what we can't. It's not about revolutionizing the world single-handedly, but about making changes commensurate with our abilities. Choosing to act within our means or to resign in defeat is a choice. For Stoics, resignation is a failure to do what depends on us, driven by ego and the illusion of omnipotence. Stoicism advocates acting within our scope and not worrying about the rest, as the world continues independently of us. We're not owners, but participants in the world, responsible for our actions, not those of others. Thus, Stoicism is not about renunciation but lucidity, focusing on what we can do rather than what we can't. Great achievements from this perspective come from concentrating on our capabilities rather than lamenting our limitations. Dreaming of the unattainable often leads to never achieving anything, as desiring the impossible tends to result in inaction and ensuing frustration. Stoicism, a practical philosophy, encourages aligning our actions with our thoughts. Emotions like anger, jealousy, or resentment can dictate our actions, whereas acting with enthusiasm and unconditional joy offers greater freedom, unencumbered by unrealistic ambitions or illusions. Stoicism posits that our emotions enslave us, acting as a filter distorting reality. Understanding that the world existed before us and will continue after us helps in recognizing the limits within which we can act. We don't choose our emotions, but Stoics believe we suffer them due to our failure to exert control over them. Stoicism holds that the goal of human existence is to achieve happiness and wisdom, the latter being essential for the former. Wisdom involves understanding and accepting the world, leading to happiness. Sartre's phrase, "What matters is not what has been done to us, but what we do with what has been done to us," aligns with this Stoic view. Our nature or temperament, whether we're more inclined to anger or calmness, isn't entirely within our control. However, we can work on understanding and changing our character, which is within our possibilities. The Stoic worldview is deterministic, suggesting that everything in the universe happens for a reason, not due to divine intervention, but because events have causes. This approach implies that understanding these causes helps us navigate and respond to life's events more effectively. Every event has causes. To say everything has a reason means it has a cause. Stoicism teaches that all occurrences can be explained, though explaining doesn't necessarily mean accepting or justifying them morally. For instance, a crime can be explained by psychological factors, but this doesn't excuse the act. Stoics blur the line between explaining and excusing, believing if something happens, it must have causes, since nothing occurs without them. This deterministic view posits that if we could identify all causes, we'd find everything logical and rational. The concept of coincidence, for instance, is just a perception from our limited viewpoint. We're surprised by events when we don't know their causes. From an omniscient perspective, seeing all factors and their interactions, nothing is surprising. For Stoics, the universe is entirely rational and comprehensible. Humans, as part of this universe, should strive to align with this rationality. The more rationally and logically we behave, the less we're subject to emotions like suffering, frustration, or sadness. Embracing rationality frees us from the shackles of emotions and leads to happiness. While striving for absolute objectivity and detachment from emotions may seem inhuman or unattainable, Stoics believe in the pursuit of this ideal. It's challenging, but Stoicism never claimed wisdom, happiness, or knowledge were easy. The philosophy holds that striving towards these goals is possible and worthwhile. Yes, overcoming our emotions is the path to wisdom and happiness in Stoicism. Happiness isn't about satisfying desires, as desires are dependent on external factors. Desiring something implies a dependency, and fulfilling that desire only temporarily satisfies. True happiness is freedom from desires. Stoics believe that one can find happiness even in adversity, like illness or solitude. Epictetus, a Stoic slave, exemplified this in facing pain without emotional reaction. Similarly, modern yogis demonstrate this ability to detach from physical suffering through mental discipline. Stoicism promotes practices like meditation to focus on consciousness over physical sensations. Stoics distinguish between what we can control and what we can't, and happiness lies in not being affected by the uncontrollable. While the universe operates under immutable laws, Stoicism doesn't see this as negating free will. It's about discerning what can be changed and acting accordingly. Today, Stoicism has influenced personal development techniques, but it's more than just practical tips. It's a comprehensive philosophy. Understanding the world is key to accepting it. Stoicism teaches that everything has a reason for happening, and resisting the inevitable is futile. Accepting the unavoidable can make it less burdensome. Reading Stoic works, like Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, can bring a sense of calm and alignment. This philosophy suggests that while life isn't limited to reason, it needn't be a continuous struggle. Stoicism offers a practical and rational way to navigate life's challenges. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to encourage more of my content.